Hello, it's me, Xanthe. This is kind of a last minute stream, so I'm sorry that I wasn't able to um, give a lot of give a lot of notice, and then there was the time change and everything. But anyway, I'm here at the moment, and in a few minutes, Justin should be joining. James might join. He's stuck doing taxes, um, but I just wanted to share thoughts about Skeleton Crew, specifically the music of Skeleton Crew, a little bit of the sound. Um, First of all, I'm curious who's here. Let me know if you're watching, and let me know if you have initial thoughts. Um, this is such, it's, I was nervous going into it just because hey, Christina, I miss you, Christina. I look forward to you joining next week. Um, but Yeah, and the thing is, like, amongst ourselves, the band batch we haven't shared our opinions. I think we tend to like save them for the stream. So feel free to jump in. I'm pro spoiler, so worry not about spoiling anything for me. That's funny. So you haven't seen it yet, I'm guessing. Um, anyway, whenever there's a new Star Wars composer, I kind of go into it cautiously optimistic. I am not super familiar with Mick Giacchino, other than him being Michael Giacchino's son. I have, in preparation for Skeleton Crew, I listened to one of his albums. He has an album, I think it's called Perseverance. Let me look it up. I should have prepared this. I listened to his album. Yes, it is called Perseverance. It was an EP. Um, and I remember, I mean, this was like a week ago. Um, I thought it had like some pretty interesting sound worlds, and I thought it was promising. Um, so I was looking forward to watching Skeleton Crew, and then we watched Skeleton Crew on Monday night, and I have to say, overall, I'm very pleased. I think the show, I really enjoyed watching the show. I had a fun time. Um, and I thought the music was rather cohesive. I've pointed out, I've noted several recurring themes in it already. Um, and I should have started out this stream by asking this. So if you're watching this on the replay, please comment below. Um, did you notice the music in Skeleton Crew? And a kind of a part B to that question is, did you notice over the course of the 2 episodes any recurring themes or any kind of connective thread, even if it's more like getting a general sense of the music? Like in Mandalorian, I guess a general sense might be that it's kind of incorporates dance beats, and it kind of incorporates electronic percussion. Like, I'm curious for just like an overall vibe check of people, because I remember when we were streaming about Andor, there were some people that would comment saying that they didn't really notice the music, and in the Acolyte, a lot of people were streaming about the show, but thinking that they didn't really notice the music, or didn't really note if there were any recurring themes or anything. So I'm curious if you had that same experience with Skeleton Crew, or if the music of Skeleton Crew felt like it imprinted on you more quickly than those other shows I just mentioned. Yeah, and then if you're like also commenting, just let me know if that compares to your experience with the other shows too, because I know not everyone necessarily pays attention to the music or registers it quickly. Now, all of that said, I can identify, or if I had to pick like the three main themes that are reused in the show so far, it would be pulling up my notes. I did a lot of transcriptions, so I have a lot of music prepared to share with you. Let's see. Let me clean up Clean up by date created. Sure. Ender/Arc says, I definitely noticed this music. The themes definitely imprinted faster than the other cues. Okay, so what you're talking about is not necessarily the themes in this show imprinting more quickly than the. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm interpreting you correctly, you are not saying that the music in this show imprinted more quickly than the music of The Acolyte, for example. You're saying that the recurring themes in this show imprinted more quickly than the other just underscore normal cues in this show. Like, oh, than the other shows. Okay, so you are saying than the other shows. Okay, okay. No, that's helpful to know because I know that you tend to notice the music regardless, but it was even more quickly than the other shows. I think, I think that, no, I don't know. I was, I'm definitely not a good person to compare to because I was just thinking, no, the music in The Acolyte and Andor did imprint on me quickly, but then also I'm like taking music notes during it, so that's not representative probably of the average viewing experience. Okay. They said, I meant the music in this show imprinted faster because the themes were more immediately memorable. Okay, so I have a theory about that. I think I would guess that for most viewers, I think the themes in this show probably, I would guess that they imprinted faster than the ones in Andor or Acolyte for different reasons. In Andor, the music is so it's such a synthy, vibey world that where they specifically tried not to do too many like John Williams style, Wagner style leitmotifs. They were not trying to do that. And I think the overall vibe from Andor for a lot of people probably was like, oh, it's really synthy. And maybe it's memorable in a different way. The vibe of it is memorable. The sound world of it is memorable. The way that things are like detuned is memorable, but not necessarily the hummable, memorable, melodic themes. In Acolyte, different reasons entirely. In Acolyte, it's a mostly entirely orchestral palette. Hey, Sam, good to see you here. I'm so curious what you think. Okay, so in the Acolyte, Michael Abels, which I love the Acolyte score, but Michael Abels plays with a lot more atonality than I think the other Star Wars music composers have been doing. And like in the Acolyte, the themes are so often, okay, there are a lot of diatonic themes. There are a lot of things in the Acolyte that I think are memorable, and I'll share one thing in this show that sounds like a theme from the Acolyte, but like just the Acolyte in theme specifically, it's like it lives in a more atonal space. So I think that just unfortunately I loved it. I think it did make it harder for people to hum and to remember. I do think harmonically it was probably more challenging, the Acolyte was, which isn't bad. And I thought it made for a lot of interesting underscore moments, though I also think in the Acolyte sometimes the show felt really like, I thought there was really, really stellar writing, and then I thought that there was also some pretty boring underscore at times that felt like just like either different people on the team writing it or just like time running out or something. But overall, I think the music in the Acolyte was great, and I think the music in Andor was great because of how it fit with the visuals. Anyway, this is kind of a long introduction to say that Skeleton Crew, I think, actually it goes back to a much more tonal world, and I think the harmony employed in the Acolyte is very clear and very classically Star Wars. I will say, Andor did the same. Andor also did that. There was also like a kind of ominous musical theme in Andor that followed the chord progression that is also the Imperial March. There's also music in the Bad Batch that would do that. That would do the same chord progression as the Imperial March. There was also something in Kenobi that did the same thing. It did the same chord progression as the so. And I think Acolyte did that too, where they're not using the Imperial March, but they're evoking the harmony of it. And I think the harmony is evocative. And I think Skeleton Crew also does that, particularly Lydian moments. I don't know. What do you all think? Did you hear lots of Lydian mode in this show? So Sam says, I noticed the music right off the bat with that pirate theme in the opening scene. The music imprinted faster than that of Andor. I barely noticed the music on the first watch and Acolyte. And yeah, right off the bat, like that pirate theme at the beginning. Let me put up a screenshot. Yeah. The B theme doesn't come until later, but still, at the beginning, just like even before the main title, we hear this pirate theme like 3 or 4 times with Silvo. Yeah, and it's like it's slower. It sounds less jaunty at the beginning, but then we get it in a more jaunty presentation later, and I believe in the second episode. But yeah, right off the bat, we have that, and it's a very simple and memorable melody. And I will say also, I think one thing that helps drill in themes, I think something that can make themes more memorable is when they feel more obviously attached to something happening visually. Because, like, if you see a character and this music plays, then you're going to kind of tie those things together. And I think because it's like pirates and it being in a kind of like, very triplety or in like a 12/8 kind of, it felt, it feels like rocking, like dee, 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 dee. Like I feel like the rhythm of it, the pulse of it evokes pirate music from other movies and shows. I don't know if you all feel the same way about that, but I do feel like having and then especially later when it's like there's like the harpsichord and it's like let's see, do I have a harpsichord on this keyboard? Let's see. It'll be worth it, I promise. It might not be worth it. Okay, rock organ, harpsichord. When it's like, I actually don't remember if it was harpsichord at all. I think I might just be conflating it with the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. That's pretty funny. It should be on harpsichord at some point. Yes, very fun orchestrations. Yeah, so I think it was, Wagner Flying Dutchman vibes, sure. But yeah, anyway, it felt like it was drawing from a pool of like our cultural shared history of knowing pirate stuff. And pirate themes tend to be like, I feel like pirate music tends to be quite diatonic, not super chromatic, and it feels very like hummable and like, I don't know, like I kind of just want to like swing my body back and forth. It feels like, remember when sea shanties were like really big on TikTok like 4 years ago? I just feel like they're pirate music and sea shanties kind of live in a very memorable space. Harmonically simple, melodically can be pretty simple. Not always, but can be. So yeah, right off the bat, the pirates thing. And then, let's see. Christina says, I agree with your Andor assessment of memorable feels/vibes, but not themes. Andor was such an interesting addition to the Star Wars canon. Brad says a lot of similarities to Rogue One Saw's apartheids. 12/8 definitely helps the piratey sound. Totally. I think the first time I wrote it out, I did always write it out in 12/8. Never mind. I thought like in something that I transcribed, I did it in 4/4 and was like, oh, that's a lot of triplets that I'm writing. Actually, this needs to be 12/8. What am I doing? Yeah. Christina says, I'm going to listen to hear if I can catch any One Piece pirate anime reference. Oh, yeah. And I've only seen a few episodes of One Piece, so I cannot remember. But I am curious what you think. Okay, so right off the bat in Skeleton Crew episode 1, we also get another theme that pops up like 10 times. In my notes, I have it listed 8 times, but that is largely because I just stopped listing it because it was so frequent. And this is what I believe is, I'm calling the Skeleton Crew main theme. I'm curious if anyone watching this right now, if you got a sense of what the main theme is. Like, if you remember there being a main theme, or, you know, I might be wrong. This might not be the main theme because no one's like, you know, published a list of this is definitely the main theme. Although I should probably see if Mick Giacchino's on Twitter. But it's probably the thing that's played the most. And I'll put a transcription up. What did I call it? I probably called it Skelly main theme. There we go. Sorry. Oh, bungled the piano note right off the bat. Let me go lower, actually. Okay. Anyway, did you see this chord progression where it's like A major? Yeah, that is basically a textbook representation of the Lydian mode, which I will say this theme plays. I'll name a few places it plays, but it plays constantly throughout the show. In addition, it is the title card for Skeleton Crew is basically that. There's like a drone, and then it's like, but because of where it sits and it doesn't continue, it sounds a lot more neutral. It doesn't sound like overtly optimistic, I think. I feel like it's such an interesting snapshot just whenever you take a snippet of the larger theme. Also, just those notes in general are not terribly specific. It could theoretically be anything, but anyway, so the Skeleton Crew main theme, not only does it play on the title card, it also plays over the Lucasfilm like droids thing at the very beginning, which I don't know if that's happened for any of the other shows. I could be wrong, but I feel like there's usually different music for the Lucasfilm part. And now what would be really funny is if it is just meant to be different music, but it just happens that the first 4 notes, like that so many of the notes, like starting bar 3 of the Skelly main theme transcription, maybe it just so happens that it's those same notes. Because those notes, they happen in like, you know, a bunch of other themes too. So back to the Skeleton Crew main theme and it being Lydian. So in the Lydian mode, okay, so I'm in the key of A major. Scale degrees. Those are I'm just numbering the notes as scale degrees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. In the Lydian mode, you are sharpening the 4. So they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So instead of sorry. And if you are building triads in the Lydian mode, sorry, in the not Lydian mode, it would be A, B minor. I don't want to get too into music theory, but just like if you take all the sharps and all the sharps that are in A major, just all the notes that are in the collection, the pitch set, the set that we call A major, and you built triads, which is 3 notes that are alternating. The second chord would normally be a B minor. So if you make the second chord a B major instead, using that sharp 4, anyway, then these chords are in the Lydian mode. If you Sam is very familiar with this. If you have access to, or if you go to franklehman.com/Star Wars, and you find Frank Lehman's complete catalog of the musical themes of Star Wars, he has just do a search and find. Just do a search and find for the word Lydian. Another thing you can do is, I wonder if this is a thematic and associative progression. I think it might be. Yes, okay. Go to the appendix. I'll put a screenshot here. Anyway, you can find this for free at franklehman.com/Star Wars. This is toward the end of the catalog. There's a whole thing on thematic relationships and a section called associative progressions. And on the left, Justin is joining. Okay. Let me just finish explaining this really quick. On the left, you have chord progressions and all the different themes that use that chord progression and sort of the associations. So the very top one, G to A, optimism, benevolence, youth, victory. It's basically those 2 chords that are, make the whole thing feel very Lydian. And something else that uses those same 2 chords is, okay. So anyway, the Skeleton Crew main theme is very in line with that. Okay, I'm going to, yes, this is Justin, not James. Okay, let me set the stage for you, Justin. Okay. Yes, we're just talking about the Skeleton Crew main theme.
Oh, awesome. Hello.
Hello. Oh, you're coming out of the wrong headphones. Weird.
Where's James?
He is getting taxes finished. I don't know. Sounds like a bad day for James, honestly. I feel bad.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah. James says, I'm more neglectful of the stream than Wim's dad is.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
Exactly,
Okay,
Brad.
so we're talking about the main theme, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Is that the same as the end credits theme?
Oh, maybe. I should have listened to the end credits more. It's the same theme that plays on the title card and also in the Lucasfilm logo.
Right. Oh, that's right. Okay, so we're still okay. Yeah, the Lucas thing is different. Yeah. Skelly main theme. Whimsical.
Yeah, because I feel like there may be a B theme as well. There may be something that could be another main theme, but I'm just not sure yet. And I also didn't transcribe it, so I won't share it now. But I think the music when Neil is going inside, or like watching his family home and like his siblings and stuff, there's like a more wistful sounding
Yeah.
thing. And I think that feels related. It feels related. I don't know if it's like derived from it or if it's like another main theme. I'm not quite sure at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear that over the Lucasfilm stuff. We're so used to the. I'm sure you already mentioned this, but the
Totally.
you know, and for both episodes, I thought
Yeah.
it was gonna be like just a one and off, and then they did it for the second episode. So now the question lies: is it just for Skeleton Crew? Are they gonna?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because, yeah, I
Yeah,
did just finish mentioning that we're used to hearing, like, if not that theme, at least something different than what's in the normal show. But then also, it's so short, and the theme is not so specific and unique enough in just those like 4 or 5 notes. It's possible that it could be something else, but
yeah,
that just happens to share those same notes. I don't know.
hmm
Yeah. And then we also were talking about the pirate music.
yeah. My partner said, "What does that sound like? That sounds like something from Disney." I said, "It sounds like Sorcerer's Apprentice." Bum
Oh,
bum bum
sure.
bum ba 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 bum ba bum ba ba da da dum ba dum ba ba da da da. It's also bassoons.
I
It's
guess
also got
so.
that kind of. I noticed this mostly in like the end credits that had that very like call to adventure kind of a vibe to it, you know.
Mm-hmm. What's your overall opinion of the music in the show?
It's hard to say at the moment. I see. Okay, so that's I really like everything so far because I am a absolute junkie for 80s nostalgia kind of a
Mm-hmm.
thing, whether that's a good or bad thing to my taste in what I like, kind of a thing. So it's really calling back to that. I think Mick Cacchino did a lot of good research on that stuff. If not grew up, probably listening to all these scores. It's reminiscent of movies and scores that like I grew up with, that I grew up watching. Everyone's calling it Goonies, and I mean like they advertised it as Goonies in space, kind of
Right.
a thing. So it's really giving me a lot of those kinds of callbacks to how scores acted back then. You know.
Interesting. I haven't seen the Goonies. All I can really think about is E.T., and it feels very different from E.T. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not sure. Yeah, do you have any other references?
Like musically it's for me it kind of harkens into like the sound of like a little bit of those like John Williams Spielberg movies again, so not quite, so like a Hook. Have you seen Hook?
I have. It's been a
it
while since
gives
I've
me
seen
a
it, though.
it gives me a little bit like that. um it's I see what you're saying in the chat there, are fans. Like it's I don't know. It's just it's got that kind of like maybe late 70s, let's say
Now,
late
is it an era
70s
thing
into the 80s.
or a
Is it
subject
an
matter
era
thing?
thing?
Because pirates, adventure, kids.
I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of everything. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Because like I'm thinking back to like when movies like The Goonies was made, when movies like E.T.
Mhm.
was made, what were those kids growing up on? They were growing up on probably adventure, pirates, cowboys, space age, early space age stuff kind of coming at, that kind of stuff. And that's what they were influenced by. So it's kind of like they're trying to be influenced by the same influences, but be of composers of that time. That
Yeah.
late 70s. Like when did E.T., for example, when did the Goonies come out?
Goonies year 1985.
1985. So it's funny because the 80s has like a bunch of different weird aesthetics, and one of them is like clearly like the big synths, big drums, big pop, big neon and stuff like that, which whether or not that was really what the 80s was like, unfortunately I was not alive during the highlight of the 80s to appreciate that
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So we can only work off of what, we call it to be. Like there was a lot of there was that, of course, with like those kinds of like action adventure movies, and then there was like these kind of fantasy things, a little bit more in the um like what is it, like Goonies, it's being called a family adventure comedy film. I feel like this is the aesthetic I'm talking about, the 80s kind of like family adventure comedy. I'm thinking like influences like Home Alone,
Mm.
Jumanji, which were in the 90s, where it's very kid driven
The kids on
kind of
bikes
a
thing.
thing. Kids on bikes, which I've stated many times is like my favorite aesthetic, period.
Hmm.
Which is why I love things like Stranger Things. Um, yeah, I feel like the composer is really trying to reach into that realm.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that would make sense. Um,
That's right. There's also that reference to
yeah, Chief, the Hook
Peter
reference with
Pan,
the droid's
Smee.
name, Smee.
Yeah, Smee. I liked that reference. The other fun references
I
were
didn't actually
with
catch that. I like
no.
today Ender was like, I'm glad they showed restraint in not calling SM33 Smee. And I was like thinking to myself, oh yeah, they could. But I didn't get that it was like a reference. Because in my mind, I'm like,
Oh, okay.
SM33, it's like the microphones. Then instead of saying SM87,
Oh,
they're
that's
saying
funny.
SM, but then they're saying
That's
33,
funny.
like Club 33 at Disneyland. I thought it was a
Well, it's
microphone
also
reference.
oh well. I mean, it's like they showed the same restraint when they named a droid L337, which is
Yeah, leet.
leet. It's like
Yeah,
okay,
restraint.
they showed that same they showed that same
Restraint.
restraint here. I feel like they're of the same SM33. It's like oh okay.
Yeah.
um, you know, I guess I just kind of like that it's harkening back to a comfortable vibe that I like personally. And maybe that's just my tastes kind of
Hmm.
a thing.
So the connection to, let's see, the connection to Smee is, I think, Dave Lowery worked
Hmm.
on worked on something. Okay. Previously, he directed the 2023 Disney film Peter Pan and Wendy, which also featured Jude Law as Captain Hook.
Ah,
Okay.
that's true.
Chuck says episode 101, idyllic neighborhood kids on bikes setup had an Amblin 80s era vibe like Jerry
Hmm.
Goldsmith did for Poltergeist and Gremlins in 82 and 84. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
did have an
yeah. That's what
Amblin.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's the '80s vibe I'm working that I'm talking about. Yeah, Amblin. That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of '80s vibe.
I'm not sure that the music fell in line with that terribly. So I'm not sure that it didn't. I just can't
It's
confirm or deny
definitely
that yet.
still no. I mean, it's definitely still like a product of modern times of probably how it was scored and how it's created now and those kinds of timelines. I feel like it's really trying its best though to be something different, but still like, oh look, it's hitting those kinds of beats. You know what I mean? Like it's with the same. It's with the story. Like there's that. Oh, I've got dice everywhere from, from our last Star Wars game, our solo adventure game. It's like for example, here's a moment that sticks out in my head that I liked in the first episode. We get that. It's when he's Wim, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wim is uh, studying for once. His dad's like, "Oh, you're studying for once," kind of a thing. They come in, puts him to bed, and it's like this kind of like reaching out into the stars kind of sound. He's up in wonder. He's in, kind of like what's next in my life, and it immediately cuts to Neil, who I absolutely love with my whole heart. Um, Screaming on the bus going no, and you get that kind of like but it up, that kind of like kids on bikes running down the suburban neighborhood and trying to catch something, kind of chase orchestral music kind of a thing, and those kind of like comical beats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not like I would say Marvel-ish comical beats that have been kind of a standard across some of these franchises
Mm.
for a little bit, creeping in to a lot of these franchises. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where this is kind of like those kinds of I don't know. It's hard for me to describe.
I feel like there were some bouncy musical moments that almost reminded me of West Side
Hmm.
Story at times.
Oh,
Um,
funny.
yeah, but I also feel like West Side Story feels adjacent to Amblin Kids on Bikes, and I don't know why.
Oh, that's funny.
Um, Hook is one of my faves, says Christina. Arcfont says, I feel like the promotional stuff leaned into the 80s-ness more than the actual show has so far. And that
Totally.
might be right. I haven't seen any of the promotional stuff, so I'm not actually sure. Um,
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. Like there is a lot of different kinds of filmmaking happening in the 80s, so it's curious to see where it's going to borrow from.
mhm,
And a lot of that was influenced from 70s filmmaking too. I mean, that's where Star Wars and this whole vibe spurned from, was 70s filmmaking.
for
You
sure.
know, it's going to be
Yeah.
cool. Um,
Um,
how
I
you
have
feeling, Xanthe?
I'm feeling good about it. I found it enjoyable, and I feel like a lot of it, like if we put together several of the Disney Plus, like I feel like there should be
Mm-hmm.
a whole. If we put all the themes from like all the shows together, there would be a lot of overlap. I think in like themes that
Mm-hmm.
feel similar. Um, Certainly in like instrument choices, I do think I do
Yeah.
appreciate that this score had a. I feel like instrumentationally, orchestrationally, there was good both variety and restraint. Um,
Hmm.
like it didn't go in off into like it's very orchestral, but then it didn't also try to do the synth thing as well. Like I like that it
Yeah,
kind of
I
for the
noticed that
most part,
too.
yeah, and it's not that there was never synths because there was actually like
Yeah.
there's one part in the second episode in particular where I was like where the synth is like very sparsely in the background of
Mm-hmm.
like a theme,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that sounded really good. But it's not taking over. I think it still is primarily orchestral sounding with a good mix of like
Yeah.
sections and solos. I particularly like the use of the violin for the little rat,
Mm-hmm.
and then also I like the ample use of solo bassoon, which I think is something I
There's a
don't
lot of
hear a
bassoon
lot.
love happening. I
Yeah.
know. I hate to say this, but every time I hear a bassoon, I always go, "Oh right, bassoons." And I
And
always
the
forget
bassoons
about
sound great.
bassoons, and I feel bad about that because they're so cool.
Yeah.
They're so particular, and they're so I mean, we always call them like woody sounding kind of a thing, but they got this like interesting mystery that's not quite oboe mystery. You know what I mean? It's deeper and darker.
Yeah, I think the bassoon is a really
Hmm.
good choice in the multiple places it comes up, and we have bassoons doing both lyrical things, like we have the bassoon in the first episode
Hmm.
does the main theme in a very beautiful lyrical way, and then it also does more of the bouncy Sorcerer's Apprentice type of thing. And then it also like in the second episode when KB is exploring that like kind of exotic shop, there's like the flying furry animal in the cage. Um,
Yeah.
we get like another standout bassoon moment. Um, yeah, it's like right
13.
there.
I'm gonna listen to it too. Hold on. I got.
But imagine that on an instrument that can do vibrato.
Hmm. 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 That whole section is cool too. It's got this kind of like, I mean, it's playing off of like the exotic market vibe.
Yeah,
You know
with
what I
like the
mean?
bells
That
and stuff.
again, to me, like harkens a little bit back to the tastes, the aesthetic tastes of the era that they're trying to like,
Totally.
you know, the with what's it pull from kind of a thing.
Hmm.
It's like they really did. That's what I think. What I'm appreciating about is that they really did the homework as much as they could in finding how did these films treat these subjects musically, visually, you know, beat wise. And this is something like this. It's almost like a Indiana Jones adventure.
I didn't know that. It's from Captain
Soon to
EO.
be. Oh.
Which I
Oh, shh. You're right. Really?
I know. I'm looking this up
Look.
now. At what point
Captain
is
EO.
okay? Captain EO. Oh, it was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. I forgot about that. Yeah,
That's
so
so
Captain
funny
EO
too.
used to play at Disneyland. Did it play at Disney
Mm-hmm.
World too? And until 1998. I don't. I saw it as a small child and was extremely scared of it. So
Yeah,
to the point where, like, as I grew up, I wasn't sure if I actually saw that or if it was just a nightmare that I remembered. Um, I remember
I
it being
remember.
horrifying.
I remember seeing it. And I had a Captain EO shirt for a while. I think I still have it somewhere. And then it came. I remember briefly came back during the time. I think I had a pass in the
Yeah, because
days
they did bring it back
before.
to the park. Hmm.
Yeah, briefly. I forgot that that little creature was. Oh, that's so funny. They're dropping. They dropped a lot of really interesting references. And now I'm like, what else have I missed? So there's a weird Disney-ish reference. We got the return of Wizard
Yeah. Uh huh.
as a young slang, which was cute. We got
Nice.
the what's it the acrobats
Yeah,
from
from the holiday
holiday
special.
from the holiday special. At least they're embracing it now. At least they're like, you know what? It
Next episode, they're
exists,
gonna say midi-chlorians.
right? We're gonna get many Chlorians right in this. Um, yeah, I'm curious to see. Yeah, anyways,
The
we'll talk
ferryman is
about
from
that
one of
next
the
time. But
Ewok movies.
hmm
Cool. I'm still thinking about, like, I recently had recorded a Star Wars Music Minute episode for Rise of Skywalker with Catherine Neen, um, who said that her very first Star Wars movie that she saw in theaters was Ewok, the Caravan of Courage, which
oh
is a
no.
which is a wild first Star Wars and pretty amazing.
So to them, like all of this is from the perspective of that first Ewok movie.
Uh,
Everything else is a spinoff. Um,
yeah, that's pretty funny. I'm gonna.
that's wonderful.
I'll play something for
Yeah.
you, and you can, and anyone in chat can also say if you recognize this from anywhere. Um, okay, let me find a good instrument for this.
This will be interesting because I got to think about it because my whole setup is at a concert right now. So
Oh,
I
so you don't
listened to
have.
I watched and listened to everything in between everything I've been doing. So
Oh
this
man.
will be fun. Next week I'll have a lot of prep time.
Okay, here we go.
Hmm. Is it when they're in the ship when they're first discovering
Yeah, so
the
it's
Jedi Temple, the hidden Jedi Temple?
yeah, basically. I mean, it shows up a lot. It actually comes back a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
it's when they are discovering this hidden hatch. And we get, like, artificial
That's
harmonics
right.
before it too, actually. Um,
Okay.
I transcribed these in the opposite order, but it's like I don't know. It just that very glassy violin
Mm-hmm.
sound. Um, yeah, and then the kind of like on a belly synthy
Mysterious
thing,
hatch.
but then it's also on cello after. It's like then it's like and then it pops up like other times. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I only called it mystery. I was going to call it just like mystery, but then I didn't want to get it confused with the for from Attack of the Clones. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I just called it Hatch because Wikipedia said that it was a hatch. I wouldn't have necessarily called it that, but it totally is that. Ender is calling it the Jedi Temple motif, and I feel like that might
Oh.
be what it ends up being changed to because it also played. It also plays like in
Mm.
episode to when I think when we see Jude Law,
Meet
um,
Jude Law.
maybe. I mean, I just feel like it also, yeah. Which one is at Atten? I mean, it happens in places where it's not related to the Hatch anymore. The Hatch is already gone. Hatch is old news now. But yeah, it's like a
It is the
mysterious thing.
mystery approaching.
Mm-hmm.
Mystery approaching kind of a theme, kind of a
Yeah.
vibe.
Yep. And then let me think of any other like main. I mean, we did have an interesting moment at the end of the second episode where it's like. Yeah, where
I I
it's
was
doing a
about to
knock.
mention that. I think my I think Mick Gacchino secretly watches this show and did that
So
to
that
just to piss us off.
just to
Just to
trigger
be
us.
like, oh,
Oh, it's
oh
not the force
no,
thief.
see, it's not it. It's not it. See what they did? Oh, it is the Force Thief.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah, you tricky. Oh, that
yeah.
was good. We all had, I'm sure all of us,
I was so ready to be
all of
like, not the force, a knockoff force
not
theme.
the, yeah, right, where it's like, oh, it's not it, but it's almost it, and then he does it. I was like, ah.
I actually found it quite satisfying. I liked it.
Me too. It's
Yeah,
cool that they're just like, no, we're gonna use it. Let's use
yeah,
it.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, that was kind of, that was a very fun moment, and we get this like the mysterious. I feel like we're all just gonna call him Jude Law and never by his actual character name, because it's just like it's Skeleton Crew with Jude Law. It's the kids with Jude Law.
yeah, in my notes, it's
um,
just Jedi Jude.
it's Jedi Jude. Hey Jude, I love it. Jedi Jude, JJ.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call him JJ. Um,
Yeah.
um, JJ Law, Jedi Jude
Mm-hmm.
Law. Yeah, that was like kind of cool little odd reveals. I mean, I'm curious. We're all sure curious if he's whether or not he's the pirate from the beginning that got mutinied against. What is a Jedi doing trapped in a cage when he could have gotten the key all along? Is it a trick? Is he actually a Jedi?
You
What's
think he might be
his?
lying?
What do you think, Xanthe? What's your hot take what's your hot take prediction? You're in stand-in for James here.
Oh, great. So I have to say something. James, are you watching this?
What's yeah,
My hot
what
take
is
is
your hot
that it's
take?
really Darth Maul.
It's Darth Maul's gonna appear. James is finally gonna take us to Disneyland.
James, I hope you're watching this. Um, oh, Goonies has a mysterious hatch like recurring theme as well. Okay.
Hmm.
And Lost. Um, yeah, so I do. Okay, here's the thing. I know what Ender's theory is. Ender, you can put it in the chat if you want. Um, and I don't disagree with it, but I think Jude Law is really a Jedi. I think he has to be a Jedi,
Hmm.
because I would feel um, betrayed, misled in a way that is not satisfying if they would
Hmm.
have if he's not after using the Force theme and stuff. I feel like you don't use the Force theme
Oh,
in vain like
interesting.
that.
That was shown the immortal music, musical sins of Star Wars. Don't use the Force theme. I like that. I dig that.
And I
Okay,
also think it is possible, like, okay, in the High
maybe
Republic
it's a Jedi.
Adventures,
Yeah.
in the High Republic Adventures comic, there is like Jedi pirate stuff going on. So this has
Hmm.
precedent in that.
That makes sense. It feels like maybe a Jedi who ran away. I mean, who escaped, survived all this time, and had to become a pirate essentially to survive, and now it's caught in this weird bubble.
Hmm.
Former Jedi, also, but also Cap. Yeah, that's what we're feeling too. Yep. Um,
Yeah. You know what I can't also help thinking about is like, okay, so Justin, in our in our previous Star Wars RPG campaign, you had a pirate ship run by droids, and I just kept
Yep, I had a
the,
droid
the
pirate ship.
yeah,
I was captain of a pirate droids. It was
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I
It was
kept being like,
wonderful.
this is Justin's theme. Yeah.
I love space pirates. I think it's a great mix of everything.
Um.
It calms that treasure planet vibe. I dig in
Mm-hmm.
the steampunk kind of swashbuckling space adventures.
I want to point out something like when basically when the girls and the boys meet each other, um,
Mm-hmm.
and Fern, like first KB does the like speaking on the with the voice changer through the thingy, being like, "Who do you have a crush on?" And then is like, "Sorry, she made me
Yeah,
do
that was
it."
funny.
Um, I think the I don't want to read into it. I think it's just fun subjective scoring at that moment because
Hmm.
when Fern emerges from the side, from like hiding from wherever she was. Let me see if I can get
Behind the
like,
rock, yeah.
yeah, let me see if I can get like a bass or something. Um, Let me see if I can get like a low brass actually. Um,
Yeah.
we get the music that introduces her is feels like so ominous. Um, okay, this will be the best I can get probably. Okay. Um, and this will be at 27:44 and this is like
Hmm.
it goes. And this is for the Fern reveal. Is that like really scary music, which I think is
What
great.
was what's the
So
time? What is the timestamp on that?
it's at 27:44. She's like, Fern made me do it, or she made me do
Right.
it.
Oh, that's yeah. She's
Yeah,
talking. That was kind of a fun. I wish I could just change my voice like that.
yeah,
Oh,
um,
pause. Hold on.
yeah. So
I
that's
like how
that.
it's also like mic feedback.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And then as Fern is telling the spooky story,
Yeah.
and then during the spooky story, there's a lot of music, but one of the things that repeats a lot is. So I just wrote that down just in case that pops up again later.
Hmm.
It might.
Oh, when she's telling them that the people are buried or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Yep. Yep. She's a little jerk.
Yeah. Totally.
She's got issues. What? Okay, so this is after the fall of the Empire. Is this before Force Awakens
Yeah, I believe it's nine
in our
ABY.
timeline?
I think it's nine
Right.
ABY.
So is it? I guess we're learning things about this planet that they're on. Um, right. It's people on the outside of it think it's a myth.
Mm-hmm.
So were they even active in the Empire? You know what I mean? Like, were they just
Right.
like floating off, like not noticing, or just staying super neutral with everything? Like, now I'm really curious. Because they got what did they had like New Republic credits, Old Republic credits,
I think they had Old Republic credits.
right? So they never got hit by the Empire, perhaps.
Maybe. Or I mean what they say in the episode I believe is like lost treasure. I see I'm confused about this personally. I mean I don't think I'm
Hmm.
confused so much as like they haven't revealed everything to us yet, so it's okay to be confused right now, but like I would find it hard to believe that they escaped the Empire's reaches, but
Right.
maybe they did. maybe, but one thing I did notice is that if they feel affluent, like it feels like a really affluent planet or city or something.
Totally.
And so it could be that they just have a lot of currency, like people that, even though we don't use gold anymore, people that just like still have gold. I don't know if it's something like that.
Right, right. It feels like I don't know. It feels like a shut off. Yeah, it's the unconnected because they're talking about not the Republic, not the New Republic. That was for one, and then they when the kids breached, there's mention about no ships are allowed in or out off the planet. They didn't believe that it was a starship, which we should talk about the sound design of that starship in a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And it was so cool. And they said when the kids got when they get out into past the barrier, they said, "What are those? It's stars. I didn't think there'd be so many." And then
Hmm.
hilariously, immediately jump to hyperspace and be
Yeah, and they're
traumatized.
freaked out. Which, I
uh,
mean, yeah, I would be too.
yeah, it's like, oh
Who is
wow,
it that
pretty zip.
we're wait, what show or whatever is it where we see someone get into hyperspace for the first time? I mean, Ray probably, but then also, does this happen in a show where we get to see someone? I don't know. Anyway,
I can't remember. Maybe it was it Acolyte? No, she just no the didn't like hyperspace.
right. I just like when people are new to hyperspace.
Yeah,
I just like that. But yeah, you're right, Samantha. Like Farah says, the Republic, not the New Republic, which did feel weird to me. But then I was thrown off because their outfits looked New Republic-y to me. But
right.
but then I don't know. And then when they're talking about the great works,
The great work, right?
the great work, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
Omega and Bad Batch. That's it. That's what it was. Thank you, Sam.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she was like so
Yeah, the
amazing.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, the great work, whether that's related to the old republic or not, kind of
right.
a thing, or in line with the new republic. Maybe it's one of those situations where the planet is isolated except for those in the know,
Yeah. Well, look,
which is what it
the
feels like the droids, very surveillance, esque safety droids, right?
right. Now, remind me, did they say great work or great works?
I thought it was the great work, like the
Okay.
great work
Because in the
that
High Republic,
work.
the great works are like the various initiatives that they have, like Starlight Beacon, like other things. And so I was like,
Oh,
oh, it's like they're still doing this, which is what they were doing in the High Republic. But then the fact that they called it the Great
maybe.
Work and it sounded like the meaning of it changed. Like before it was like the Great, like Starlight Beacon is like,
Let me find that. That was episode one.
it's just a very subtle
Right, and it's
difference.
okay. So it's the teacher talking. The droids are just fantastic in this.
Hmm.
Um, Smea's a little weird. I like him, but sometimes when a droid is like so much like a human personality, it's a little more off-putting than an almost human personality. You know, which is funny because I love K2SO is like the epitome of that.
The planet seems to be
Where
hidden
is
since
it?
the Old Republic, and the kids have never seen space and stars, but they know what spaceships are.
Hmm.
Hidden since the Old
A
Republic.
starship.
Do we know what part of the Do we know what part of the galaxy it's from,
Hmm.
or where in the galaxy at Aten is?
You know
Anyway,
what this
go ahead.
the great work. The great
The
work.
great work. Okay.
You're right. She says your contribution to the great at Adam's the great work
Okay.
is what they say. You know what? Did you ever read The Giver? The
I don't think
book The
so.
Giver as a kid.
I may
It
have. I
it
just can't
is
remember.
it
Okay.
is
Is that a Terry
also
Pratchett book?
oh who wrote
No,
the
it's
oh no
Lois Lowry.
yeah it's also there's a whole thing about being selected for your career as a kid
Mm.
kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's chilling. At the beginning of the episode, of the first episode, Captain, not Captain Bosun, what's his name? Silvo, is like
Hmm.
cold hard credits. Is he talking about like the old Republic credits, the ingots, um, or is he just saying
Yeah, I
money?
wonder.
Because it could be
I think.
either.
I think. Uh, does the currency change? I mean, like, are they just all called credits? You know what I mean? I think it's just saying cold hard cash instead of saying cold hard cash. It's just cold hard credits.
That's what it sounded like. But then the
Yeah.
discrepancy, but then the old Republic credits specifically are what surprised the people at the port.
Maybe because I mean the Empire was 24 year 25 24 something years, right? So that's like money and currency that went out of fashion to them,
Mm,
kind of a thing. So it's probably just incredibly rare
yeah.
to the
I mean,
point
I have
where
a
that's why
feeling
it's.
we will find out more soon. Um, maybe At Atten is a great work in the same way Starlight Beacon is a great
Mhm.
work. Yeah, maybe. Um,
Perhaps.
you said you wanted to talk about the sound design of the spaceships or of the speeders.
Yeah. Yeah, the speeders hold on, someone from yeah, so well the bikes are hilarious and wonderful. It's again the my questions of what are the rules of speeder bikes in Star Wars. It seems like the power uh, failing, but the bike still floats is really funny, and I really like what was it the sound of just how like ho- cobbled together some of the bikes kind of sounded. They didn't sound smooth or like sophisticated. There's the one where I think that Wim takes. It's just bang, just like loud, noisy, and totally off the rails kind of a thing. Versus like maybe a more sophisticated speeder bike. I thought that was really interesting.
Like a hot rod,
Really cool
basically.
attention. Yeah, like attention to detail on just like how things were put together.
Hmm.
Um, Totally. Give me 1 second. I'm hitting a small work emergency that
Yeah,
I
no
gotta
worries.
answer,
I'll
and I
keep
will
I'll
be
keep vamping on music, if you don't mind.
okay. I will re. Yeah, no worries. I will uh, rejoin in just a second.
Yeah, no worries. Um,
Okay.
okay, so what I was about to let's see, I was about to go just keep going through in order different music. Actually, I'll go back to our old quiz format and I'll just like play a few things and in the comments you tell me if you recognize where you heard this. Okay, I'll tell you this one is episode 1. It's a little like, sort of 6/8 type of. mm, I feel like it could have kept going like, but it's just. So that was. Let's see. I'll wait for comments and I'll mute Justin so you don't hear the work emergency. Um, it's a small moment, and it's when they are hiding from Wim's dad. Did I tell me if I gave the answer too quickly? Um, I'm gonna save this one for Justin. Also, let's see. Oh yeah, there was another thing that sounded almost like I thought it was going to be a pseudo force theme, I but then it was eclipsed by the actual pseudo force theme in the second episode. But this also reminds me of a theme from The Acolyte. Let me pull up the thing from the Acolyte so we can compare. And I don't know if that's even recognizable as something that's familiar from the Acolyte. I just remember it because is how the death of, I don't know how to say this, the death of Aze, the death of Ace in Grieg's Peer Gynt Suite is. And so that's just always what it's going to sound like to me. Yeah, it's when OSHA or when people are summoning the Force is when we hear that in the Acolyte. And so that's what made me think, oh, it's a Forcey thing. I mean, it still might be, but yeah. So this is like, we hear this when, let's see, this is like the second time we hear it. I think let's see, I'm thinking of the moment when OSHA summons her lightsaber. Let me look up Force summons in my notes. Yeah, okay. It's when she summons Pip with the Force. And then later, Soul gets the lightsaber when he's fighting the master. It just keeps like leaping up. Perfect fourth, perfect fifth. Anyway, so this one, that kind of just threw me off. It reminded me of that. I still think it sounded kind of Force adjacent. I'm going to go with it. And then just some like other little bits. I mean, I'm curious if anyone in the chat has like favorite musical moments to share. I might also drop a link for people to call in to this episode. If anyone feels like coming on camera for a moment to explain. I still haven't mentioned maybe my favorite moment is from the second episode. Oh, here's a cool part. Tell me if you recognize this. I'm going to do an octave lower. It's from the second episode. There's a little bit of latency like from streaming to comments, so I guess I should probably figure out exactly how long that is. But anyone have guesses? I'll throw this one on Justin too, and I'll unmute you, Justin. I was just playing an example of something and having
Let's
people
hear it.
guess like the old days.
Yeah, like
yeah.
the old days, like we don't do
Okay.
every. Anyways,
Yeah, like 6 months ago.
like 3 months ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, where was it? Hold on. It's I know it. I hear it. I know exactly. I know because when I heard this, I was like, oh, it sounds like that one thing.
And what's the one thing?
The one thing, right? It sounds like a John Williams bum bum ba-da-dum bum ba-da-dum
Oh,
ba-da-da-da-dum.
interesting.
Almost a little bit, and there's also something in Jurassic Park that
Okay.
I'm failing to just be able to like, but it's got that vibe. God, what was it? It appears. Is it the spaceport?
Yeah, it's when they're
Yeah.
going to
Okay.
the Port Borgo. Yep, at 10:20
Yep.
of episode 2.
Ooh, okay. I remember more
Good
of this than I
job.
remember. Yeah, I remember that part and going, "Oh, that sounds like a very John Williams-y thing.
I think it kind of did. It sound John Williams-y to me? I'm trying to think.
I think I just have something in one of the Jurassic Park, and it might have been from the third one, which technically wasn't John Williams, that it sounds very familiar to me. This kind of da-da-da. I mean, it's also got a little bit of that Lord of the Rings, Howard Shore, ba-da-da, bum bum bum, but not quite
Mm.
kind of a thing. Very,
Okay,
very different theme.
here's
Very
another
different
one.
application, though. Yeah, let's
Here's
hear it.
another one, and I thought this would be interesting to. I was wondering if you and James picked up on it, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about.
Hmm.
So that's it, and then another time we hear, and then a completely separate time we hear. They feel like the same thing to me. It was like always on the same instrument, just this like pentatonic little tiny mini melody, just a tiny little,
No,
tiny little filigree.
I don't remember that one.
It's such, the moments are so small when they happen.
Pentatonic Explorer.
I don't know. I need a name of some sort to just temporarily have.
You need to publish your counter to that. What's it? The Bible of
Frank
themes
Lehman's
from Star
catalog.
Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, here's my shitty handwritten TV show version.
Yeah, Pentatonic Explorer.
Yeah, so that would be, yeah, so if anyone has like the episode pulled up, you know, it almost reminds me of, okay, I actually don't remember the exact reference I'm trying to make, but it's like, maybe it's Peter Pan or something. It's like a little, okay, I might also be thinking Mandalorian when there's just like a little flute.
Right?
Just like little, like 3141.
3141 an episode of on.
And it's very in the background.
Oh, is it on like a Celeste?
Yeah. Something like that. And it's kind of warbly.
Mhm.
And then like 5 minutes later, we hear it again. And it's while they're spelunking in the cave or whatever. 36.
Hold on, it's almost there.
And then at 3609.
Yeah, it's got that cave ambient reverb kind of thing going on.
Yep. I should have called that spelunking.
Spelunking theme.
Yeah. So
The spelunking theme.
I wonder if we'll hear it again. I don't know.
Yeah, it's, or it could just be like one of those like atmospheric motifs. You know what I mean?
I just think it's interesting that we heard it like 3 separate times.
Maybe it's gonna be like one of those like, not quite a theme, but just like the sound.
Yeah.
That comes back. You know, every time you hear the sound, it kind of means that.
I feel like with a lot of these themes, I mean, in this one in particular, I feel like our recognition of them in the future might also be dependent on maintaining the same instrumentation, which I think is also something I notice more in the TV shows, I think, where there are some themes where I feel like the instrument that they're played on are just as important, and the instrument itself almost evokes the theme, like whether it's recorder or in the Bad Batch as well as this one. There's things with like a very twinkly sound, like the mysterious hatch one evoked the M Count kids in the Bad Batch, and just sort of other eerie twinkly bell stuff, bell celeste kind of stuff. Because if I heard a violin,
right,
do that at some point, would I recognize that they're trying to evoke the same thing? I don't know.
Probably not. No, probably, unless it's like, I think the only way to make that happen would be to like smother it in reverb like they're doing this kind of a thing. So it's in the distance and you get that cavernous feel and that. So I think it's very much not just the music here, but it's like the sound
Mm.
that they're going for.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Adam's great work is Serena Starlight Beacon is great work. Port theme does have a Jurassic Park Ellie grabbing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what I'm thinking about.
Okay, here's another moment. Okay, wait. It's more on strings, so but I want to get the harmony. I think it's very interesting. I think it sounds Gershwin-like.
Yeah, I can hear that.
And that's when Fern
I
is
don't
like
know.
realizing that she's the new captain and is
Oh, fun.
ordering SM-33.
Smee. I'm just gonna call him Smee.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him SM-87.
SM50.
I'm just kidding. SM-50.
Is there an SM33?
I don't know.
SM33 microphone. Yes. No.
I should have practiced this. Oh, so good. It was like a violin theme.
Oh.
Do you remember where it's from?
No.
There's a lot of flats in it.
No.
Oh my gosh, this was like one of my favorite moments. Okay, does anyone else know where that it happens twice in the second episode? It's very fun. It's very violin-y. Gotta love a violin solo.
Is
I thought this would be the easiest one, but then that's my
in,
violin bias.
in the second episode?
Mm-hmm. It happens toward the beginning and it happens toward the end. Chat. It's okay. I'm not offended that you don't remember the violin theme.
I remember the weird little flute doodly doo in the beginning of the first episode. But...
Oh yeah, that's good too. Okay, so it accompanies the scurrying rat.
Oh, out of his eye.
Yeah. So at 5:55 and at 21:55.
Oh.
And it's pretty great.
5:55. Oh, searching.
Yes, Chuck. It's even clearer the second time.
I hear it. Okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
And then when they're trying to get him to get the key.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
And then the second time, there's like that obnoxious.
It's a little slower. Yeah, I hear it. It's a
yeah,
little
and then there's
slower.
that pitch at the end. Ah! Oh. I like the pits at the end.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one. When I heard it in the episode, I figured a Xanthe reprise was inevitable. Yeah, I'm predictable in that way. That's true.
I like the little string fall right after that with the orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, "As get the key in." It's very maybe this is part of it. I feel like nah, I'm gonna bite. I'm gonna no. I'm gonna eat those words very quickly. I'm sure. I was gonna say maybe I feel like this show is being a little bit more Mickey Mousey than others that we've seen in a while. You know what I
Including
mean?
Bad Batch.
Maybe Bad Bash included. Like this is being a little bit more of a Mickey Mousey score
Hmm.
than we've seen in like I don't feel like Acolyte was a very Mickey Mousey score, for example.
Let me
Um,
think. Hmm.
Boba Fett, not so much either. Mandalorian, you know, I feel like it's more like texture and then the occasional big blast of a theme.
Hmm.
Where this
And Andor
is
certainly was
less
not either.
right, where this is more yeah orchestral.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more. I don't want to say classical, but like neo neo romantic 20th century.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to pay attention more next episode. There was a little bit of mousing. It didn't stick out to me as being
Hmm.
like a ton, or at least not more than like the animated shows.
Hmm.
Not sure.
That makes sense.
If you're doing Goonies in space, Mickey Mousing also
Yeah.
seems inevitable.
Yeah. Goonies in space.
Yeah.
I love it. It's also like a little bit of that lost in space feel kind of a thing. Bum bum ba-dum ba-dum bum bum ba-dum bum
Yeah.
bum ba-dum ba-dum. Me heart is yellow. Hey. Bum,
Totally. Yeah.
ba-dum. Sea shanty. I appreciated those little moments too. I thought that was kind of funny.
The pirate moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's that? We recognize one of those characters. What's his name? He was in Mandalorian season 3. The
I don't know.
smooth looking.
Oh.
He the you know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah, but I also think he looks like someone in The Last Jedi, but he's not the person in The Last Jedi. I just think that maybe they're the same species, actually.
Maybe same
Um,
species, but this is the same character, right? As
um,
the one that we see in Mandalorian season 3, where they're like he's trying to take over the newly formed town. Remember this?
I don't remember. Is this in
It's like
the is this in the Lizzo episode?
no, this
Okay.
is no, this is I think before the Lizzo episode where he goes back to the old police chief is now the mayor and it's like a beautiful town and like city now and pirates come and want to take over. It used to be a bar, but now
Oh.
it's a school
Oh,
and
right. Right.
yeah, that one.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's the same guy.
Okay. I believe you. Missed the first 30 minutes, so apologies if this was brought up. Anyway, since this is Goonies in space, was there any musical connection with Goonies or perhaps Flight of the Navigator?
That's a good one too.
I need to listen to
So,
that. I've never heard it. Let me see. Flight of the Navigator. And I've never watched Goonies or listened to the soundtrack, and I feel like I must. Now I have to. I will listen to it this week. Rest assured.
yeah,
Um,
it's a cute movie of its time. You
I
kind
didn't
of
say I'd watch it.
some
No, I'm gonna listen to the
yeah.
soundtrack.
Oof.
Um, oh, it's a long one. No, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of long. That's okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. We were trying to decide whether the musical similarities were there, and I think probably the prevailing opinion is story wise and aesthetic wise, yes. Music wise, probably not a lot. There still
The
might be a connection though. I'm just talking about kind of the overall vein. Star Wars.
Yeah, it's kind of very
Yes,
Goonies-esque
that's him.
score.
That's it. That's him, Sam. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very Goonies. It's a very Goonies score. I'm listening to little snippets right now to remind myself, and it's like, yeah, okay, this is where they're that guy. Yeah, Vane.
Yeah. Is this convincing? Yeah. Fane. Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
like he got punched in the face and never got over it.
He reminds me of Jack Somni from The Last Jedi, who is, if you read the Canto Bight book, you know him, but he is the guy. He's playing a game at one of the tables. That's him. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh.
They both have a
Yeah.
similar
Yeah.
non-nose situation.
They both got the Voldemort thing going on too.
Exactly. That's what it is. Yeah.
I'm a little
Okay.
bit more disturbed.
Somehow I've
I'm a little.
disappeared.
I'm a little bit.
I've been
I don't
replaced.
know, I'm a little bit more disturbed by that one than Vane. That one looks like something out of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Vane looks a little bit more.
But we're not judging.
No, never.
The Skelly theme has a bit of Murray Gold, Dr. Forever theme vibe to it, which in turn had a Pirates of the Caribbean vibe.
Mm-hmm.
The Mysterious Hatch theme has a Goonies One Eye Willie theme vibe to it. Right, okay. Aileen Crispin Glover, indeed. That's the Last Jedi person. Marty McFly's dad. You think he looks like that? Or is it the same actor? Oh, that's Crispin Glover. Okay.
No.
And yeah, okay. Anyway, I have some more music. I have more musical examples if you want.
Okay.
I did too many of these.
Oh, you did too many of them?
Yeah. Okay, we already did the Exotic Shop, which was a bassoon solo. Okay, here's a fun one. Sorry. There's strings. And low brass, like very low. Just doing like major seventh. And it's very slow and strident and intimidating and blaring like
Weird.
low brass.
Was that right? That was that the rise of SM-33 bodyguard droid?
Yes.
That was a fun moment.
Yeah. That was a really that was a great moment. 1832 of episode 2.
I love it. It's got that like lilting. No, I mean, because like we usually call it like a lilt in like a 3 or a 6, right? Kind of but it's still kind of got that in this 4.
Yeah, and I think it's because of the rest.
Right, the rest and like where the accent is and how it just kind of lurches into it. Which and Smee is like limping. Like he's a big bucket of bolts that's piratey.
Yeah. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, his that music was really really lumber. I wonder if that's just gonna be like his theme in general.
Do you think he survives?
I think he survives. I think he's too cool of a character to knock off too quick.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe he becomes one with the ship. One with the ship. One with the.
I don't think he can become. I don't think he should become one with the ship. I would rather not. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Mm-hmm. That's basically all the transcriptions I had.
I
If you want to,
like, yeah, the we were gonna talk about the ship sound design
yes.
before I got distracted there. The bikes were great. That's right. We were talking about bikes. The bikes were fun. I liked the very DIY, like very put together, not all sounding the same kind of attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ship. Oh man, the ship turning on and just having all the lights and the pops and the whizzes and the um I don't know. Have you ever had like the experience of like turning on a switchboard like that before? Maybe not like
Where
Star
like
Wars,
where it all
but
comes
you like
online.
where you flip one thing and it's like everything comes on in like a delay where it's like pop
Yeah.
pop
Uh-huh.
swoop
Yep. I'm
doom
sorry. That's every time I turn on this keyboard and I've unmuted the channel too soon, and then I'm like, so sorry because
yeah, that's weird. Um, no, sorry, that was yeah. I thought that was a really cool representation of that kind of a sound, where it's just you hear the little mechanical clicks
mm-hmm.
in the background, and the
Yeah.
lights themselves like kind of like turning on in a sequence, a delayed sequence.
Yeah.
Um, it was a very, and then like the ship taking off itself felt very like thundering, and like what was cool is like usually I want to say usually we're used to watching ships like they're up, they take off, and they go, kind of a thing. There's not this much like build up, but for it coming out of the ground and you need to like turn over because it was upside down for whatever reason.
Yeah. Star
Um,
Wars has a hilarious history of old defunct ships being able to
just
take off.
fly
Yeah.
right, right, and just going out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a really very well sound designed sequence there.
Yeah, no, thanks for calling my attention to that because I guess it felt so realistic. Not the ship taking off necessarily, but like everything powering on.
Hmm.
It felt so familiar, all the like click, click, click. But yeah,
Yeah, it was going. If you've had the chance, it felt a little like when if you get the chance to ride, what is it, the Millennium Falcon ride at Disneyland,
mm-hmm.
Smuggler's Run, with
Mm-hmm.
all the switches, and it kind of gives it a little bit of that kind of feel, which is cool. Um, and oh, there was another point I was going to bring up about this. I feel like just attention to that kind of detail with this show's sound design is not just like here. One of my other oddly favorite sounds was his story pad.
I was just going to
Uh,
ask. I was going to ask you that next. What did you think of the clickiness of the story pads?
oh, it was great, and it's like there was just like a mechanicalness to it. I mean, I have like a clicky clackety keyboard, so I'm like very into those kinds of
Ah,
sounds
okay.
and those
You
feelings.
would.
Of course, you know. It's well, like lighting consoles are very like clack, 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 you know. It's a lot of fun to type on that kind of stuff. So that's what it felt like with that story pad. Every time you flip the thing and the image, it's very analog. You know what I mean? It's very digitally analog. Obviously, it's like higher technology. It's Star Wars and things like that. But it's everything feels very analog um, in this show so far, which is kind of
Mm.
cool. Even the ship taking off, like it was like fire and burners
Yeah, yeah.
versus like whatever it usually is, blue, blue flame.
I thought the
Yeah, very
iPads
reminiscent of the Ben Burt. Yeah,
did.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep, yep. Which is all mechanical sound design, you know, from very real machines and very real like clanking.
So when Wim was like doing stuff at his desk, is he's using something separate from the story pad, right? Like it's like their desks also do stuff, or was that just on the story pad? Because
Yeah,
it
I
looked
think
like,
they have like their desks are computers too. Yeah, I
yeah,
think he
okay,
had something else too. Those were kind of cool. I like it's like an etch a sketch.
yeah. There's something, and it's also kind of like a mixing board.
Uh huh.
I felt like kind of a secondhand, like not cringe, but like a fear of getting caught because I was like, "You're being so loud." I was like, "We have to be quieter," because I just think it's funny that they were portraying the iPad kid but the iPad is not even like you can't even quietly like sneak in your taps. Like he
Uh-huh.
is so loud in what he's doing at his desk. Um, and I was just thinking like, if schools wanted to make it harder for their students to sneak in technology, they should just make it very analog.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's making it great. Speaking about that, there is a moment I had to rewind a few times to catch. I don't know if you caught this. When they're in the SAT testing arena, which was very triggering for me. Um,
sorry.
it was I was like, oh my god, I lived through all of this. There's a point where the droid is like, if you need to use the refresher, please remain in your seat and utilize your desk controls. And I was
Ew,
like,
I didn't catch
is
that.
that you did? Okay, I rewound a few times and the droid actually said, if you need to use the refresher. And I was like, I hope she doesn't, that droid doesn't mean bathrooms, because do they have toilets built into their seats so they don't like, it's very
Oh
surveillance
no.
heavy. They
Oh
can't go
no. That's
cheat. They
horrible.
can't go to the bathroom to go cheat, you know? It's like, they got safety droids. Like, you want to be someone that helps people, that's what safety droids are for, you know?
This is actually a horrible thought, Justin.
Right? It's this oppressive society, which is why little Fern is such a little.
Do you all think that's
Um,
what they're doing? Do
I
you
don't
think
know.
they've.
Okay, so I'm going back to episode 1,
It's
right?
so bleak. Yeah. Like use your controls to pee in your desk or
Right.
the controls to be transported to the refresher, hopefully.
I want to
Or
hope
or
so.
to refresh your answers so you can start over.
Right.
Ugh.
Maybe a refresh. Like, I
I
hope
mean,
so, but that's what she said. That's what they said.
no, I think
If you
you're
need to use
probably
the
right.
refresher.
That does sound like use the bathroom.
Okay, so here they are. No unauthorized data pads.
Okay. I think it's more like calling for an escort. Let's hope.
Okay, I hope so. Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, I
But
was
that's
I
what she
was
said.
thinking
You need
that,
to
but
eventually
also
utilize your instead of like raising your hand. That's a good point. I had that dark thought for a moment of like, oh,
yeah,
don't worry
like I
about
feel
it.
like it's
Just
like
use
on
your desk
airplanes.
controls. It's like what?
Yeah. No, it's like on an airplane. Oh yeah, exactly. Like calling for a flight attendant.
That would
But
be funny
still,
though.
the fact that it was ambiguous enough for you to go down that dark path
Oh,
is
here's
funny.
something funny. Can I send you a
Yeah,
an image? How do I do this? Can I
just
post this
text it.
somehow? Maybe I'm reaching, but I looked up an SM33 Shure Model 33 microphone, and it kind of looks like Smee,
What?
right?
Here we go. This is the microphone that I thought Shmi was named after.
Yeah, it totally looks
Yeah,
like him.
yeah.
Totally,
It looks like a
100%.
tall, lanky droid.
Absolutely.
Thank you for validating this. Agree. You can't just
Is
leave an
he,
exam space unsupervised. Yeah, okay.
is,
Or you just can't leave an exam space, depending on your interpretation. Um, okay, let me see
he's
if I
a
have any
security
other.
droid? Oh, he is a security droid, isn't he?
If anyone wants to throw out their favorite sounds or music, let us know. I really liked the lightsaber fight, the mock, the playing with
Ah,
sabers. Very good.
Star Wars, kids in Star Wars playing Star Wars.
Hmm.
In Star Wars. I said, oh, that's interesting. That so okay. So if they're isolated on this planet without knowing, I'm curious what their whole take on Jedi's is. As like, you know,
They seemed positively surprised by the reveal. I think they knew what a Jedi was, obviously,
right?
and Wim clearly. Oh, there was a good like Doppler moment about 15 minutes into episode 1
Hmm.
when one of the bikes is like speeding off. Oh,
That's
the
true.
bubble bath that has a skylight in it. Very weird.
Oh, right. Neil's bubble bath, right.
That was a little traumatizing for me.
Oh my goodness.
um, yeah, mic feedback. We talked about that. Um, the rats squeaking.
Rats
Oh, we
squeaking.
do have rats squeaking in the first episode, and then in the second episode we have the rat. So rats were already Disney. Okay, credits. Slidey strings, Disney-esque orchestral, but with a groove a la Toy Story. Modal melodies sounds piratey. That's what my notes say. I don't know. Okay, Sam says, I had many favorite musical moments, but one of my favorites was probably the really dark pirate theme during the mutiny.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and it was, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think I maybe separately, if it was the one at 207, um, let me, it reminded me of the end of Rogue One. There's tubular bells.
In Rogue One?
Yeah. God, I forgot how to play piano. Yeah, it sounds very like, it just reminds me of the moment at the end of Rogue One with Vader, which of course is not the same theme, but like just
Oh, I see what you're saying.
the
Yeah,
way that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
set up and then just like comes
yeah.
blasting reminds me of that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Bathroom skylights really depend on not having neighborhood kids who can scale your roof. Yeah. I just don't really want a big window.
In my bubble bath.
Yeah, because also, what if a helicopter fly? Like, they have airborne capabilities in this world. Well, okay, though I didn't really see any ships flying overhead. Like,
Well, no, there's like no ships. It seems like.
right, not doing like just planetary on the planet travel. It's not like Coruscant or something.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's really such a strange world for Star Wars.
I'm listening to the ending theme right now.
Mm.
Do 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 do
Oh yeah, it's very piratey.
What's the main theme that you how did that go? The one that we were talking about at the very beginning.
Yeah, it is what's in the it is what's in the end credits. Except it's different. In the end credits, like da 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 da.
Like the end credits feels like very like it's almost Boba Fetty.
Yeah, and it
It's
could be
almost
because of the
got
groove, right?
yeah, it could be because of the groove, and it's got that it I don't know. Like it feels almost like it could be like travel montage music instead of like an end credits theme. Like it feels like you want to see like the map appear and the little red line like going across the map, and you see the airplane.
Oh, totally. I can imagine that. Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like to me. It's like very like desert vibe, jungle adventure, Jumanji, um, s kind of a feel to me.
I
Wild
think
thornberries.
I think honestly, I think having the percussion there makes such a difference. Just
Yeah.
like the kind of relentless groove of it. Because what else could it score other than travel moving in a direction or a montage where the tempo doesn't have to be like flexibly shaped around action or something. Yeah, no, it totally sounds like it. Yeah, you could have them on a map with their little red line.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. 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 Yeah, I guess. Um, it's not my. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I wanted it to. It leans every now and then into like this like retro Star Trek Lost in Space end credits, opening credits vibe, and I almost kind of wish it went there a little bit more.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know any of those older like 50s, 60s TV scores and TV themes from like the original like Lost in Space
Hmm.
or original Star Trek, perhaps. Um, they kind of have this like a little bit of that space agey, like retro space agey vibe to
The
them.
end credits specifically, or the show as a whole so far.
Like the show, like the end credits and opening credits as a whole, specifically those kinds of things. It feels like you'd almost wanted to go a little bit there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's this adds to the very much to the traveling adventure. But I guess it doesn't sound spacey to me. That's what it is, and I don't know how to explain that, and I can't back up that
I mean, it leans
argument.
more into the pirate than the space, but I would
Leads more
say
into the
so did Boba
piratey.
Fett.
Yeah, like it gives me the desert. It just for some reason just makes me feel like I'm on a camel in the desert. Is what
Hmm.
it is.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to think. Does Mandalorian do that too, or does Mandalorian feel spacey?
Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, bum, bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum.
I'd say Mandalorian also
That's very
feels.
western, like very westerny. Kind of gives it, that kind of a thing, and then it gets like grandiose at Star Wars towards the end. With some
Yeah,
of the orchestral
and then what
themes.
about Bad Batch?
Bum,
Does it sound
ba-da-dum,
spacey?
ba-da-dum, 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 ba. Bad Batch? Yeah. It sounds sweeping and what
Dun,
I
dun, dun, dun,
generally. Yeah.
dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun. It's
dun.
militaristic.
Mm-hmm.
It's very military into that vibe kind of a thing. So they're giving like they're they're representing those feels very well, and this represents this feel very well. I question the feel. I guess is what I
Mm,
was saying.
okay.
That's all I'm saying. I
Yeah.
question. I question the vibe.
Mm. Episode 101 going into hyperspace was a fun, bombastic musical moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've lived in a house where the bathroom was surrounded by bedrooms, so the only natural light could come from a skylight, not as huge as the one here though. Okay, that's fair. That's actually a good point. I can see architecturally the use of them. Um, okay, here's a question for everyone. It's more of a prediction. Um, do you think the end credits of the show are going to change from episode to episode, or do you think we'll have any variety in it? So in the Bad Batch, we mostly have the same end credits music, with the final episodes sometimes being different.
Very specific story beat episodes had different ones.
And then in the Acolyte, end credits were often different.
Yes, and so are the introductions.
So you're guessing. So the first two episodes, was it just the same end credits? I think it
I think it's
may
just
have
the
been.
same.
Do you think we're going to continue getting the same?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm curious if we're going to continue with the same intro. I mean, they've done it twice now too,
Yeah.
with the Star Wars Lucasfilm thing.
Yeah. I think
Be
that's an
interesting.
interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think they're going to keep the same end titles,
Hmm.
especially since I feel like there's going to be a second season of this.
You think?
I think there will be. They're taking care, like they're certainly calling it season one, episode one, and not just
Well, I
episode
mean,
one. And
but
I feel like
but
for
any
Kenobi, it was just
re-
episode one.
really, I feel like it'll still be like a lot of one season shows just have season one, episode one as their.
Okay.
I
Hmm.
feel like I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Absolutely. I feel like even if it's only got one season, it'll still say season one, episode one.
Yeah. I wonder how. if it will get as dark as the Bad Batch. I think I think maybe the last episode might get different end credits music, but I also feel like this is for a younger audience than the Bad Batch.
Which is funny, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you'd almost think that the opposite. Yeah, I feel like this will probably get tense at times. I mean, we just saw a droid hot plate a guy's face. That's a little kind of skirting a little on violent. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
At least showing the violence. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll get perilous. Maybe not dark. I'm
Yeah.
curious if they're going to, if and how they're going to try to connect it with themes and stories we already know.
Hmm.
Or if this is going to truly be a little offshoot story that has no, perhaps, impact in the greater Star Wars universe, but this is just an adventure in a different, you know what I mean, a little window somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
Like, is like Grogu gonna appear at the last episode? You know what I mean? Like, are they
Right.
gonna? Is the Mandalorian gonna like show up randomly?
Oh
Which
God,
he
I hope
could
not. I hope not.
theoretically. You know what I mean? Like
I
they
hope
could.
not.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I hope they. I hope they.
Yeah.
I think I've noticed some of my favorite Star Wars products as of late have been the one-off separate stories.
Uh-huh.
And we could argue that Andor isn't that, but it kind of is.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It kind of is. It does connect very strongly to the main, what we could call the main plot of Star Wars, as a franchise, but like it's very much its own thing.
Hmm.
And I hope this one stays that way.
Yeah. I'm curious how much the emotional beats will be there as we get further into the season, because the first couple episodes very fun. I'm liking it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing the setup of some potentially emotional things that can occur, like
Mm-hmm.
thinking
Mm-hmm.
about worrying about futures, feeling maybe like your parents don't pay attention to you, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
also that kind of thing seems to be part and parcel with kids on bikes genre. And so it
Yep.
might just also be a prerequisite. Um, yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um, I did struggle with the tone. Pirates don't really do anything bad to the kids, but they massacred a whole ship. So
Hmm.
meaning parentheses a little bit too dark. And then Chuck says dark is off brand for Space Goonies. I think it's like the pirate stuff
Oh, I see.
was a little
Yeah.
bit dark,
What?
but then I feel
Maybe,
like
maybe the pirates have a, maybe they have a moral code.
yeah,
We'll massacre an entire ship, but kids, nah. I mean, didn't Smee for a moment? He was like, "But we're not pirates. Like we're just like, what do you mean you're not pirates? Like we're kids." He's just like, for a second, he's like, "Well, that doesn't mean you can't be pirates." Right before he gets shot. Yeah, maybe I see what you're saying. Off G, yeah.
yeah, I don't
It is
know.
kind of funny that they're like, "Don't let the kids go anywhere." It's like we just got here. Everyone cares about these kids.
I really hope that even though the kids are off their planet at Aden, I do
Mm-hmm.
hope that we get to still live in the world of Aden more, because I would like to go back there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure that I think the dad is gonna have a little side plot happening.
You do?
Well, he went off with the safety droids, the security droids. So I think we're gonna, because he's gonna want to find his kid.
Right. Do you think it's going to be the type of thing where like the father and son find more understanding when they're reunited?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, probably. He's gonna take some time off of how much work he has to do, because he's
hmm,
got a lot of work.
yeah,
Grow up, kid.
right.
Aren't you too old for
Or like,
bedtime stories? I have work to
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's plausible. I mean, that would also be falling very in line with Disney movies
Uh huh.
of the last decade or 5 years, like Encanto,
That's
Turning
true.
Red, where like at the end the parent lets their kid be more
Generational
themselves.
trauma.
Yeah. So we'll see. Specifically, they started fighting each other to get the credit, but they don't interrogate the kids or ransack their ship.
Yeah. Inconsistent motivation or perhaps characterization.
Right. Yeah. I'm guessing for the purpose of simplicity in the story.
Yeah, keep it a little kid friendly, but not kid friendly, but
Right.
kid friendly.
But I can also see how that is maybe confusing.
It's
Anyway.
what do they call it? Plot armor.
Right. Yeah.
It's plot armor. You can't harm the main characters because
Mm-hmm.
then they'd be the main. They wouldn't be the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Also, I feel like being a kid probably helps you to become more invisible to like adult world drama. I don't know,
Yeah.
the opposite might be true. Like actually adults might pay more attention to kids and be like, "Oh my gosh, kids are here." Or it could be like, "Okay, let's get the kids out of the way so we can do our adult business." I could see how being a kid could make it easier to hide. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at the port. The people who see them are like, "You need to get out of here," actually.
Right. Like very concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any
Fun.
more thoughts, Justin?
No, I'm excited to see where we go next. I'm gonna try and bring some examples. Like I said, my good chunk of my studio setup, or the main brains of my studio setup, are set up at a performance I'm doing tonight. So,
Good luck with your performance. Or break a leg,
thank
I mean.
you, thank
Yeah,
you. We had a good opening night last night, so we're gonna close tonight and finish strong.
that's great. Yeah, thanks everyone for popping in today. I know it was like kind of a last minute scheduled stream. Uh,
Yep,
yeah.
80s kid friendly. Yep, exactly. Yep, last second stream,
Yeah.
and we're gonna keep them going.
That's our outro music. All right.
Let's hold on. What's the theme? Hold on. It's something like that, right? No. There.
All right. Bye, everyone.